Hey, welcome in. JR here, talking the Big Ten Huddle, talking every single Big Ten football team. And we had a fun night tonight watching Big Ten football. I know it was one that people seemed a little down on, but I was okay with it for the most part. We're going to talk about each individual game, kind of talk about an overview of the entire thing. Definitely want to hear from you all in the chat. So if you have any thoughts or anything like that, please do get them in there. But we're going to have a good one here. Please do remember to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff here on YouTube. If you're listening after the fact on podcasts, we appreciate you doing that as well. Please do give us a 5-star rating, share it with a friend, let people know about the Big Ten Huddle. That's how it grows. That's how it, kind of gains traction and stuff like that. And we definitely appreciate that happening. Going to go ahead and head on over to Twitter and share this really fast. But while I'm doing that, let me see who's in the chat with us here. Got some stuff brewing in the chat before we even get started. Max says, Rutgers and first quarter Nebraska are making the Big Ten look bad. Hope Big Red gets things click over the next 45 minutes played. We'll talk about Nebraska. I have some thoughts on them. Max updates it, says Nebraska's getting close, currently 20-17, 2 minutes left, Cincinnati with the ball. Yes. Larry, appreciate you being here. Larry said, he said, darn, Nebraska favored 6.5. Yeah. Didn't pull that one off there for you, Larry. I thought they would get it, man. I thought they would get a late score there. Then they ended up punting it away on that last drive. Fisherman says, good thing Cincy QB threw a terrible pass. Yeah, that was one of many terrible passes that game, for sure. So Max says, what happened to last year's Nebraska run defense looked totally different. Looked like a totally different team this year. Well, the defensive line is totally different, and that's one of the reasons why I've been harping on the defensive line so much, right? It is a totally different situation with that defensive line compared to what it was before. I'm honestly not too surprised to see things happen the way they did for their offense. I kind of talked about it in the preview. Brendan Sorsby was going to get out there with his legs. Cincinnati had talented running backs. They had the former Ohio State running back, Evan Pryor. They had the former Wisconsin running back, Tyree Walker. They had talented guys, and they were going to be able to run the ball. I didn't know they were going to be that inept at passing the ball, but that's how it works. So, Joe, also, what's up with Nebraska? Sheesh. I do think Nebraska deserves a good amount of criticism after this one when you take into account people were picking them for the playoffs and stuff like that. But I also think people need to realize those were extremely hot takes by Josh Pate and everybody else. And I mean, Zach included. Zach was actually texting me during the game like, I can't believe I picked this team to make the playoffs. But we also have to remember, don't overreact too much to week one. This is a game coming out right away, and these two teams, I think I would have expected some more offense from Nebraska, but overall, the offense wasn't bad in this one, and we'll get into that. So, Alibaba, Mike says, Sky you ma, row the boat, go Gophers, we coming. There you go. Loved what I saw from Nebraska tonight. We'll definitely get into them for sure. And look at that. Hooligan, sharing the show on Twitter. We appreciate you doing that, Hooligan. We got some Parker Navarro talk, better than we thought. Yeah. I mean, I think we talked here on the show about how we thought he was good. I don't know if I gave enough credit to his legs, perhaps, than maybe we should have. But he's a much better quarterback. The problem for Rutgers is they're gonna see better quarterbacks than him this season, so that can't be the only one that they see that really does that to him, because that's going to be a problem if that happens to you over and over again, because although Parker Navarro is a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, he's not going to be the best one they see this season. They're going to see Julian Sayin, they're going to see Drew Aller, they're going to see Damon Williams, they're going to see Drake Lindsey, they're going to see Mark Gronowski. Like, they got a lot of guys on their schedule, but we'll get into that. So, all right, let's see. Philip says, I was at the Wisconsin game. They are going to be really bad this year. Yeah, we'll get into Wisconsin. I have, again, some thoughts there. We'll get into there. Let's first get into Nebraska. All right, guys, let's do Nebraska. So Nebraska wins 20-17. Dylan Raiola goes 33 for 42, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions, which is good. About an 80% or 79% completion percentage. Emmett Johnson does run for over 100 yards. He gets to 108 on 25 carries, and then really spreading the ball around a bunch to the wide receivers. Emmett Johnson had 7 catches for only for 27 yards, but still 7 catches. Nasia Hunter had 6 for 65 and a touchdown. Dane Key 6 for 51 and a touchdown. Honestly, when I'm looking at the way Nebraska played in this one, I'm not super down on them as many other people seem to be. I mean, they got the game-sealing interception. Love that. They won a close game. I mean, let's also remember where this Nebraska team has been at the past few years, right? This Nebraska team has not been able to win a close game. This Nebraska team a year or 2 years ago loses this game because Cincinnati goes down and they throw the ball around. Brendan Sorsby uses his legs and they get down the field, they score, and Nebraska loses. That's not what happened in this one. Now, you can argue, the competition of Cincinnati isn't what you're going to see in the Big Ten. Yeah, you're probably right. There's probably a bunch of teams in the Big Ten that are better than Cincinnati this year. However, this is also week 1. This is also coming in with a brand new defensive coordinator, brand new defensive line. I think this defensive line is definitely going to need to improve. You can't get pushed around like that, like the Cincinnati offensive line did. I mean, that's a mid to low tier Big 12 team, in my opinion. So you can't get pushed around like them. And Scott Satterfield is probably going to lose his job at the end of the year. So to be in this close of a game with them, it doesn't inspire a whole bunch of confidence in Nebraska to me, but I do think there are things Nebraska did in this game that gives me hope for them later on this season. One of the things is that it was impressive to see how Dylan Raiola did diagnose and attack zone coverage in this one. If you remember in the Indiana game, zone coverage was giving him fits. He was having a terrible time. I mean, obviously they lost that 56-7. I'm an Indiana fan. Tell me in the chat. Don't worry. But they lost that game 56-7, and Dylan Raiola could not figure out the zone coverage. It was a huge deficiency for him in that game. And it's honestly something that we didn't mention in the preview that we probably should have, is how much zone coverage Cincinnati does play under, what's the defensive coordinator? Tyson Veit, I think is his name, or Ty Veit, something like that. He plays a ton of zone coverage. Now, obviously, the Cincinnati secondary is nowhere near the Indiana secondary, but still, that was something that gave him fits last year in that matchup. And I think he did a really good job of diagnosing it, doing a much better job with his decision-making back there as well. Now, you could also say Raiola was not great under pressure. When they got pressure on him, he continued to have issues. He had a couple dropped interceptions that could have possibly changed the game. One in particular that was going to be taken back for a pick 6 if the guy didn't drop it. And he had a lucky bounce on a fumble that came back to him. So by no means is Nebraska totally fixed or anything like that. But I did see improvement from this team. And I think if you're a Nebraska fan, you are at the very least happy that your team went into a neutral site stadium that really was a home game for you. I mean, props to the Cornhusker fans out there. That really was a home game for Nebraska and came out with the win in a close game where, honestly, like I said, a year or 2 ago, 3 years ago, that's a game you lose. That's a game you don't win. Look at Ireland, under Scott Frost in that Northwestern, when they played Northwestern that year. So I don't want to toot my own horn here or anything like that. Yeah, I know you guys are putting it in there. Thank you, 56-7. I got it right. Appreciate that, guys. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but like I said, when some people were talking about questioning the secondary for Nebraska, I'm not sure if that was something that was going to be a good part of this defense. The secondary was awesome in this game. Now, Cincinnati that probably would have the worst wide receiver core in the Big Ten, or one of the worst wide receiver cores in the Big Ten. Honestly, they're probably on par with Northwestern or something like that with how those guys played this game. But how much of that was the wide receivers, or how much of that was Nebraska's secondary and what they were able to do? Because Zaire Wright, Malcolm Hartzog, these guys, they played well in this game. Hartzog had that reception he gave up on 4th down, but then he comes back and he gets the interception to seal the game a little bit later on. Granted, Brendan Sorsby throwing terrible passes, but it's also college football. This is what you're going to get. Did you see Billy Edwards? Did you see Danny O'Neal throwing passes? It's not like you're going to face, Drew Aller every single week with some of these passes. And, Drew Aller's not always perfect with his passes either. So it's about being opportunistic. It's about making plays when the plays come to you. And that's what Nebraska did in this game. So for me, I'm looking at Nebraska saying this is a different team than they were 1, 2, 3 years ago. And to me, that's improvement. That's what we want to see. From what we saw today, I think this Nebraska team wins at least 8 games. I don't think they win 10 games, but I think they win at least 8 games with the schedule they have this season. I think that gives them momentum. I think that continues to build, helps them in the future, and then you see Dylan Raiola continue to advance next season as well. Now, I know you don't want to talk about next season, Nebraska fans. I get it, but you also need to, we also need to look at this and say this was not a great Cincinnati team. This is a Cincinnati team that was a very good test for Nebraska. It was a good kind of barometer, measuring stick. It should give you some excitement, but we also need to recognize that Nebraska has some things they need to work on. They have some things that they need to shore up. And one of those things was trouble with Brendan Sorsby's legs. I mean, Brendan Sorsby was running around all over the place out there. I like the aggression that we saw from Nebraska's defense at times, but also they overpursued. They lost contain, and a lot of that's on the defensive line. So the defensive line for Nebraska is going to need to be better with containing the quarterback. They had multiple spies on Sorsby at times, and he still was able to get away and run for a lot of yards. So, that whole situation needs to be figured out. But at the end of the day, they did better with the tempo at the end of the game. The tempo was giving them fits, and they started to improve there. So improvement, I saw it. I like that. But Nebraska has far from arrived. We'll see where they go this season. I think you get more wins than you did last season, but I don't think you get close to playoff contention or anything like that. I'm not even sure Nebraska makes it if they win 10 games this year to get to the playoffs, because that schedule just doesn't seem to have enough juice to it to do that. But I could be wrong. The branded Nebraska might get them in there. We'll see. So let's see. You guys have any thoughts that I'm missing here or anything? Joe says secondary looked decent, but the defensive line is going to get creamed in league play. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? You're looking at a Big 12 offensive line that's mid to low tier in that conference. The defensive line has to be better. The defensive line has to get better. What's Kent saying? It's time for bed, JR. We got 14 more games this weekend. Oh, yeah, we do. Hey, two tomorrow. I probably won't be going live tomorrow night, but yeah, we do got a lot more games. Don't worry. And hey, I'll be here Saturday night. Well, actually, probably more like Sunday morning, because that Utah UCLA game starts at like 11 o'clock Eastern time. It's times like this I wish that I was on Pacific time. Max says Nebraska does have one of the easiest Big Ten schedules, along with Michigan. They could still sneak in. Yeah, I think Nebraska's is the easiest for me. Michigan at least has some tougher road games kind of early on in the season. So when you look at the makeup of that team and the freshman and starting quarterback, I think Michigan probably has a harder schedule there. But yeah, I think Nebraska probably has the easiest one, which, don't knock a team for it. I didn't knock Indiana too much for it. Go out there, you play the games that are in front of you, you win. That's what matters. So, all right, let's look at the next game. Before we do that, please do remember to like and subscribe. Definitely helps out the channel. Like I said, if you're on podcast, give us a 5-star rating. Helps us out as well. Let's look at Rutgers and Ohio. This was one that was probably too close for comfort for the Rutgers fans, and I know that I was texting with a few buddies during this game or after this game a little bit as well, and just like, what in the world is going on with Rutgers here? Here's what's going on with Rutgers here, okay? This is a frustrating game because Rutgers was up 31-17 at halftime, and Greg Schiano does what Greg Schiano does, and he sat on it. He sat on it, and he was going to rely on his defense to hold Ohio so that way they could just, get out of there with the win and not have to worry too much about it. In the second half, let me pull up my stats here. In the second half, Rutgers only ran 3 drives in the entire second half. They had 2 drives in the third quarter, and they had 1 drive in the fourth quarter. Same with Ohio. Ohio ran 2 drives in the third quarter and 1 final drive at the very beginning of the fourth quarter. Rutgers just managed to have a 12-play, 50-yard drive that ate up, the last pretty much 7 minutes of clock that was there. Now, props to Greg Schiano and Rutgers that they were able to have a 7-minute long drive to end the game to eat up clock. That's awesome. But you also have to look at this and say, at what point is Rutgers going to adapt and use this offense to really, step on the throat of a team and put them away? That was one of the reasons why I had concern about this Rutgers offense going into the season, is because I saw the talent. I like the talent. KJ Duff, DT Sheffield, Ian Strong, Athan Kaliakmanis is going to continue to improve. But I just didn't know if Greg Schiano would lean into that. And in this game, he didn't. He sat on it. He was up 31-17. He sat on it in the third quarter. They did have a 14-yard or 14-play, 67-yard drive that lasted about 8 minutes to get that field goal, and that was huge to help them secure the win. But at the end of the day, that's not what you can do against Big Ten teams. Big Ten teams are going to force you into worse situations, especially when you look at this game. And Rutgers was on third downs 1 for 9. 1 for 9 on third downs. Now, on fourth down, they were 5 for 5, so give them credit there. But I don't think you're going 5 for 5 on fourth down against very many Big Ten teams. There might be some out there. You just have a good enough offense that you're able to do that. But you look at some of these Big Ten teams, I don't think you're going to get to that situation very often. Rutgers was in 3rd and long. That is 3rd and 9 or more yards 4 times in the game. In fact, they were in 3rd and 5 or more yards. What is that? 7 times. They had 9 third down conversions. 7 of those 9 times they were in 3rd and 5 or longer. It's not going to cut it. Rutgers has got to do a better job of setting themselves up on third down. That way you don't have to just get close to fourth down. Now, in this game, it worked out for them. They beat Ohio. Good for them. It works out. But you cannot continue to have that happen for you. Their average third down and distance to go was 9.6. 9.6 is not good. You cannot continue to go into league play doing that. But, give Athan Kaliakmanis' receivers credit. They played well in this game. The huge play to DT Sheffield. KJ Duff was playing well in this one as well. I mean, let's look at the stats really fast. Athan Kaliakmanis was 18 of 23, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, 78% completion percentage. Ian Strong, he had 7 catches for 100 yards. KJ Duff, 5 catches, 54 yards and a touchdown. And DT Sheffield, 4 catches, 85 yards and a touchdown. A lot of those coming off the 54-yard reception that he had for a touchdown. I think that was the second or third touchdown of the game. So obviously, credit to Athan Kaliakmanis and the receivers. I just don't know if Athan Kaliakmanis is the guy you want to lean on in Big Ten play to take out these Big Ten teams. No shade toward Athan Kaliakmanis, but he's just not displayed that type of ability in his career. Now, maybe he does it this season. That's a very good start. Like I said, 18 for 23, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a very good start for him to start the season. But it's also against an Ohio defense that had hardly anybody back, and honestly, just a number of unproven players in this situation as well. The D-line struggled. I did not see what I wanted to see from Eric O'Neal and Bradley Weaver. They combined for 0 sacks. Jett Elad, he got injured at one point during this game. I think he came back, though, at least from what I saw. I was also watching 3 different games at one time, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But he had a rough day tackling for Rutgers in this one as well. Rough game with the overpursuit. Undisciplined overpursuit. Didn't trust their eyes, it looked like. Navarro, I said earlier, he's not the best quarterback. He's not even the best athlete you're going to see this season. I can think of probably at least 5 more quarterbacks they're going to see this season that are better athletes. I think Gronowski's a better athlete. Damon Williams definitely is. Malik Washington, I mean, we haven't seen him play yet. I would think he probably is. Dante Moore is probably close, if not better. And then Julian Sayin has some sneaky athleticism as well. So there's at least 3 in there they're going to see that are better athletes this season, 5 that are probably comparable to what Navarro was. So this is going to be an interesting season for Rutgers because they are going to need to rely heavily on their offense. This Rutgers defense is not going to be able They are not going to be able to lean on this Rutgers defense all year long, especially when they have a lead late in the game like they tried to do in this one. Against Ohio, it worked out for you. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm happy it did for Rutgers. I didn't want to see Rutgers lose to a MAC school, obviously, but against better Big Ten teams, when you're facing Washington, when you're facing Iowa, when you're facing teams like that or better, you're not going to be able to pull that off. We saw what happened last year with Washington when they tried to do that. They did it successfully, but it was very close. I think this is a better Washington team this year than they were last year, and you're going to have trouble doing that against a team like that. Athan Kaliakmanis, he's going to need to carry this team, point blank. I mean, he's going to need to carry this team on offense. He's going to need to be able to distribute the ball around. It worked out for them in this game against Ohio. We'll see how it goes against better teams in the Big Ten as well. And Ohio, honestly, Ohio's a good team. This just won't cut it, though, in Big Ten play. You play like this in Big Ten play, you're looking at a Rutgers team who probably goes 2-7, 1-8. You know, it's a good win against a good MAC team, but there needs to be improvements for sure. And it's week 1. Like I said, don't overreact to week 1. Things can change. Coaches know what they need to improve on now, and we'll see. So, yeah, Isaac says, yeah, Shiano gets too conservative with a lead. It's so annoying. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what he learned, right? Like, that's kind of what he learned under for a lot of his coaching career. He just needs to adjust at this point, and I think he's going to realize that he has to adjust after this one. You know, you see that type of offense. You see those receivers you have. That, again, that was one of the reasons why I wasn't super sold on this offense. I love the wide receiver room. It's underrated, but that's another reason why I wasn't super sold on this offense coming into the year. It's because I don't know if Greg Schiano will lean on his strength to win him games. I think he's still going to lean on C.J. Campbell and Raymond in his backfield, which those guys are good. Don't get me wrong. They had good games. They were fine. But they are not the wide receiver room that you have in D.T. Sheffield, Ian Strong, and K.J. Duff for sure. Let's see. Casual Big Ten says Duff was nasty. I like him. Oh yeah, man. I like Duff a lot. I like Duff a lot. Ryan says, I hope O'Neal is ready to be QB1. Well, Ryan, let's talk about your Wisconsin Badgers here. Jeez, I need a drink. I'm losing my voice. Actually, my mouth is just getting super dry. All right, let's talk Wisconsin against Miami. Billy Edwards goes out early in this game. I mean, at this point, there's just a curse on Wisconsin quarterbacks, right? Like, I hate to say it, but I mean, I was so excited to see what Billy Edwards could do this season. I was excited what he could do in an offense that had, you know, a better offensive line, possibly a better running game than what he had last year, a better coordinator, and Jeff Grimes. I was super excited to see, and then he had that early preseason injury with his knee, and that was obviously bothering him. He tweaked it again in this game. We'll see how long he's out for. I've not seen an official report on how long he's expected to be out, but he did come back out in street clothes, so that never is really a good sign. But even when Billy Edwards was in there, I saw a lot of clamoring for, you know, penalties on the deep ball and stuff like that. Listen, if you're going to overthrow the deep ball, you're going to get a whole lot less penalties on it. And that's what Billy Edwards was doing. He was overthrowing. He overthrew like 3 or 4 deep balls in a row. Now, you're going to get less interceptions doing that, okay? But you're not going to get those penalties. You're not going to give your guy a chance to go up and get the ball, which is unfortunate for them. But this is also a situation where you're probably not going to have Billy Edwards for a little while. You're probably going to have Danny O'Neal. Wisconsin was up 3-0 at halftime. I mean, this was giving fuel to all the doubters, all the Luke Fickell haters, anybody else. I mean, this was the lowest attendance. I saw a tweet. Let me give credit to who tweeted it out there, but I saw a tweet from Jim Polzin, and he said that the announced attendance at Camp Randall Stadium for the season opener in 2025 is 65,952. Other than COVID, that's the lowest at a home opener since 1992. If that doesn't tell you where people are kind of at, you know, in the fan base of Wisconsin with this Wisconsin team right now, I don't know what does. I mean, I'm feeling for Luke Fickell. I want Luke Fickell to succeed so bad. I think he's had some bad luck, but also last year he brought Braden Locke back, and Braden Locke obviously wasn't the guy. Hopefully O'Neal's the guy. I'll be honest. I saw stuff from O'Neal that made me believe in him more than I believed in in Braden Locke. Okay, I saw throws, I saw confidence, I saw running ability from Danny O'Neal, but then I also saw underthrows. I also saw missed bad accuracy. I also saw some hesitancy in his game as well. It honestly looked like a guy that just was coming in for his first time, right? Probably wasn't ready to start, and that's not on him. And he's just it's the very first game there. He's a transfer coming in. He never probably got the reps to be the main guy really in camp. They were probably giving all the time to Billy Edwards for that, as they should have, because Billy Edwards needed the time to get ready for it. Although he was there in the spring, he needed that time to get ready for it as well. And it's just unfortunate that he goes down. You put Danny O'Neal in there. I think O'Neal has promise to get better. I don't think he's going to be a game changer for this offense or anything like that, but I think he will be better than Braden Locke. I think that he showed more gusto than Braden Locke did. I think that he showed more confidence at times. I think that he showed a stronger arm than Braden Locke. And, although his accuracy was not always great, I think he showed better decision making than Braden Locke as well. He didn't just sit back there and wait for the sack, as often as Braden Locke did. Now, he did get sacked, don't get me wrong, but I didn't see him just kind of dropping back and waiting for the sack like a Braden Locke would or anything. So, but on the flip side, you're loving this defense, right? This linebacker crew of Allegro, Cheeks, Rager, they all played well in this one. This linebacking crew is a major strength for this Wisconsin defense. And honestly, DeQuan Finn, this is a former MAC Player of the Year, right? This is a guy who was really, really good with his feet when he was playing at Toledo. Then he goes to Baylor, doesn't do so hot there, comes back to Miami, and he struggles in this one. What was DeQuan Finn's stat line? DeQuan Finn in this one, 17-0, Wisconsin wins, but DeQuan Finn, he, let me see, let me bring this up. He was 9 for 18 for 83 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions, by the way, Preston Zachman, great job by him. Big Ten just has some of the best safeties in all of college football. It is what it is. But Danny O'Neal, his stat line, 12 for 19, 120 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not great, not something that inspires a whole lot of confidence in you, but again, better than I think some people are thinking, because I think some people are just thinking, oh, it's Braden Locke all over again. No, I saw some things in Danny O'Neal that I don't think I saw in Braden Locke. Could be wrong, but that's at least where I'm going at it with that. So, they had 4 drives of 40 yards or more. They were able to sustain drives in this game. They just weren't always able to finish them out. So we'll see where that goes, but overall, it wasn't the worst thing in the world for me. So. Fisherman says Miami got hit hard by the portal. They have like 40 new players. Yeah, that happens like every MAC school, right? Probably not to that extent. But man, the MAC, they produce some good players and they just seem to lose them every single year. It's tough. So yeah, Fisherman says Wisconsin D good, but offense bad. Yeah, at one point I was thinking is this just Michigan last year again with this Wisconsin team? But I don't think the defense is that good, and I don't think the offense is that bad. So it's probably Michigan light, right? From last year, I think you're going to see a better offense than what Michigan had last year slightly, and then probably a worse defense, just because you don't have the talent of what that Michigan defense had. It's not that they're, a bad defense or anything like that. Michigan just had multiple first-rounders on there. So Isaac said, what's your prediction for Rutgers record? Yeah, I had them 5-7. I don't think I'm going to move off that. Probably 5-7, 6-6. That's probably where I'm at with them. So, Max says that was a fun roundtable you did with Sam yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah, had a lot of fun doing that. Going to try to do that every Wednesday with him. He said he's going to have kind of some rotating guests in there. I don't know if I'll be able to do next Wednesday. I was looking at my work schedule, and I think I have a meeting next Wednesday night, so we'll see. Oh, Fishman, glad you brought this up. I was totally going to hit on this. So Wisconsin, if you forget, they lost their left tackle in spring. It was either spring or early fall. I believe it was in spring ball. They lost their left tackle, and that has been massive for them, especially in this game. That guy, the last name on Miami, Trick, I think was his last name, he was destroying the left tackle for Wisconsin in this one. it just feels like anything that can go wrong with injuries for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin is going wrong. Now, that's no excuse. You still got to go out there and win the games. Don't get me wrong. But man, do I feel bad for Luke Fickell right now, especially in this situation, because you have a coach in Jeff Grimes who can get you a running game. And we saw that at points during this one. Now, I know there were a lot of Wisconsin fans that were complaining, saying, like, why aren't we going back to the running game sometimes? It's because they had 8 or 9 guys in the box at times. When Danny O'Neal came in there, they were putting 8 or 9 guys in the box against him, and they were just daring Wisconsin to throw it. Now, Danny O'Neal connected on some of those. It's eventually how they started to pull away a little bit more. And then obviously the Preston Zachman pick, and they were able to punch it in from there. But it was really, really hard to run the ball in this one when you have a 7, 8, 9-man box against your team every single time. So normally I'm with you, Wisconsin fans. I want to see my team run it when you're seeing more success that way, especially when you have a backup quarterback in there as well. But when you got a team putting that many guys in the box, you got to throw the ball downfield. You got to get your quarterback to drop back and go throw the ball. And who knows? Maybe this was good for Danny O'Neal. Maybe this gives him, some more game experience, helps him out a little bit more, because we have no idea how long Billy Edwards is out for. Hopefully not too long, but we'll see. Biggest thing though with Wisconsin is just how far can that defense take them this season. Unfortunately for them, I think with the schedule they have, if that's going to be the offense they have all season long, if that offense doesn't improve, I think they can improve. But if that offense doesn't improve, you're looking at a Wisconsin team that goes 4-8 this season. I hate to say it, but you're looking at a Wisconsin team that goes 4-8. I did not think Wisconsin would go 4-8 this season because I thought Billy Edwards would be enough of a bump for this offense. But with him out, and Danny O'Neal, it's nothing super against Danny O'Neal. He's just a backup quarterback. He's not ready to start for them yet, especially in Big Ten play. You're looking at probably 4-8. I'd lean closer to 5-7 than I would 3-9. But honestly, what do you guys think? In the comments, let me know. Like, does Luke Fickell get fired if they go 4-8? They just gave him an extension. Granted, it wasn't like anything super huge, but you guys tell me. If they go, let's say 4-8. If they go 4-8, let's be a little generous here. Does Luke Fickell get fired? I think he probably does. I think he could possibly survive 5-7. I don't think he can survive 4-8. That's Larry's with me. Says yes. Yeah. Phillips on the 3-9 train. Yeah, I think they beat Maryland. They get Maryland at home, I believe. So I think they beat Maryland. But I don't even know if I feel super confident in that. Maryland's going to have some juice this season. Maryland's going to have some young players. I think that defense is going to be better than what it has been. And, if Malik Washington is something special, that's going to be a huge equalizer with his running ability and everything else. So, yeah, we'll see. But Alibaba says if Wisconsin is 4-8, Luke Fickell gets fired. 5-7, I think they keep him. Yeah, 5-7 is like the teetering line for me, right? Like I can see him going either way. 4-8. I don't know. I don't think so. Max says he's on the fence. Yeah. That extension, I just kind of wonder about that. But with the fans responding the way they did, again, lowest attendance since 1992. In this day and age, you have to have audience buy-in. You have to have attendance buy-in. So, all right, let's talk the last one. Gophers. Maybe my favorite game to watch of the one. Nebraska was probably my favorite. That one was more high stakes. But this one, I just felt like we learned a lot about this Minnesota team. So Minnesota wins 23-10. It was by far, it was not a perfect game by far. Like this was not a game where you came out of this thinking like, oh, Minnesota, 9-3, 10-2 this season or anything like that. But this was a game where you saw young talent from Minnesota have sparks and play well, but then you also saw some decision making, and you also saw some things that you were like, it should not be that way. And then you also saw Buffalo get away some kind of crazy penalties. When the linebacker just shoved the tight end down, and then the ball goes off the tight end's foot into the linebacker's arms, which, by the way, incredible chase down by Darius Taylor there. Man, I love Darius Taylor. I could not say enough good things about that man. But let's get into it. So Darius Taylor does leave the game at one point in the third quarter, and my heart dropped for a second, but he came back after that. He was fine. He's going to be their bell cow this season, and not just with running the ball. A.J. Turner ran the ball in this one as well as I thought he would. He didn't play as well as I hoped he would, or as well as I thought he would. But he had 30 carries in this game. Overall, Darius Taylor, he had 4 catches, 30 carries, 34 touches in this game, 100, and if my math is right, 77 yards. Yeah. 35 touches, 134 touches, 177 yards for Darius Taylor in this one. He's going to be the bell cow for him this year. He's going to be huge to their success. Gears had 4 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown. Now, he also had 2 drops. Don't love to see that. But this was a Minnesota team that had drops kind of all over the place. I think I saw Mike saying there 4 or 5. That sounds about right to me as well, Mike. I think there was probably 4 or 5 drops in this game by Minnesota. And I'm not going to say that Drake Lindsey was perfect, but Drake Lindsey impressed me in this one. He was far from perfect, but he made some really good decisions. He processed the game well. He got through his progressions well for the most part. Like I said, he wasn't perfect. He had some things here and there that you can point out for sure. But for a redshirt freshman coming in, being able to play like that, I know it's a MAC school, but this is also a MAC school where some people were saying, they have a shot to maybe beat Minnesota here. And really, their defense held them in check pretty much the entire game. If it wasn't for Kerry Brown pretty much falling down on that one route by the, what was his name, Victor Snow, I think, over at Buffalo, that was a really, really good defensive performance by Minnesota. Pretty much one play, they get to a touchdown there, but for the rest of the game, they pretty much held them in check. A total of 150 yards for Buffalo. Minnesota racked up 443 yards, nearly 300 yards throwing, 150 yards rushing in this one. Only 2 penalties, 9 for 16 on third downs, and Minnesota, don't look now, got to 80 plays, nearly 80 plays. They had 79 plays in this one. I was impressed with Minnesota overall. Definitely think they have some things to work on. Would like to see, the offensive line in a few different areas, things like that, improve, but it wasn't a bad game by the offensive line, so I'm nitpicking here a little bit. But Lindsey was poised. My biggest stuff to talk about, Lindsey was poised. Tremendous arm strength for a redshirt freshman. Love to see it. 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like I said, his decision-making wasn't perfect, but he processed the game well, went through his progressions. Anthony Smith was absolutely unblockable at times in this game. That guy is a man. He was messing around. I shouldn't say it like that. Let's just say he was toying with him out there. That offensive line for Buffalo had no idea what they could do against him, and Anthony Smith made him pay. PJ Fleck does it again. He finds another dude to put on that defensive line, and Anthony Smith is probably going to be 2nd or 3rd round draft pick at some point this season. I don't think he's going to be a first rounder, but I could definitely see him getting up into the 2nd round, possibly. Maybe 3rd or 4th round is probably more likely, but I could see him getting up there into the 2nd round. He's getting some buzz for it as well. Kerry Brown, his ability to trigger and go after dudes in this one was fantastic. I know he let up the 40-yard reception for a touchdown. That was unfortunate, but man, Kerry Brown is really, really good with the trigger. And then also, how can I forget my favorite man, Coy Parrish, going out there. First catch of his career is a touchdown. I believe it was his first catch, or one of his first catches, if not. Yeah, he only had 1 catch in this game. First catch of his career that wasn't the touchdown. First catch of his career is the first catch of the game, though. All right, Coy Parrish, great job by him. Love seeing him get that catch out there. He didn't play nearly as much on offense. At one point, they used him as like a lead blocker. I was like, holy cow. What are you doing? PJ Fleck, you're a madman, PJ Fleck. But, hey, it worked out for him. Darius Taylor got the first down. So, you love to see it. Yeah, Fisherman says Minnesota will be a tough game for a lot of teams this year. Yeah, I think that Minnesota is always kind of one of those sneaky tough games, especially when you have to play them at their place. I think that Minnesota will probably get, a bigger win this year that most people won't expect them to get. I do not feel nearly as good about picking Wisconsin to beat Minnesota. So I'm going to go ahead and retract that one and say Minnesota beats Wisconsin, okay? Forgive me, Minnesota fans. I was trying to help out, Wisconsin getting to 6 wins there. But, yeah, I don't think that's happening. So I'm not trying to jinx you, but don't think that one's happening this season. So let's see. Negatives for my biggest negative for Minnesota in this one is that the offense did stall out in the red zone too many times. You look at the red zone, and they were 4 for 6 in the red zone. They dominated time of possession, by the way, 38-32. time there, but they 4 for 6 in the red zone. I'm not gonna go at them too hard, but I did think that they should have scored on all of those red zone trips. Buffalo wasn't doing anything super special, but again, young wide receivers, young quarterback. They pretty much knew what they were going to do with Darius Taylor and A.J. Turner inside the red zone, so Buffalo was going to do everything they could to stop that. But overall, I love Darius Taylor's pass catching ability. I love the way they ran the ball with him in this one. It's only week 1, so I'm not going to overreact too much, but I like what we saw overall from Minnesota in this one. Only a 13-point win, but it is what it is. So I don't think they covered the spread. Minnesota, the spread in that one. I don't have the spread for that one written down, unfortunately, but I don't think they covered the spread in that one. I'll have to go look at the other one here. I have it written down over here, I'm sure. Yeah, so Minnesota, they were favored by 18.5, total of 44.5. So yeah, they did not cover Buffalo according to FanDuel odds. Buffalo got them in that one, but obviously Minnesota still gets the win. Rutgers was favored by 14.5. They did not cover. Wisconsin was favored by 17.5. They did not cover. Oh boy, none of the Big Ten teams. Well, hold on, Nebraska. No, Nebraska was favored by 6.5. None of the Big Ten teams. They went 4-0. They got all the wins on Thursday nights, but none of them covered. Is that a bad thing, guys? Can the Big Ten be the best conference if none of us covered tonight? Yeah, I think they still can. You watch. Kentucky won't cover against Toledo. They'll probably lose to Toledo. Tennessee won't cover against Syracuse. Actually, they might. I don't know. I've been going back and forth on that pick now. So anyway, I think that's about all I got, guys. Unless you guys got anything else in the chat or anything. Max says, are we going to be doing live streams after the West Coast night games into season, some 3 and 4 a.m. streams? If I'm awake, as long as I do not fall asleep on the couch, I will come up here and do, quick 30, 45-minute stream with you guys. We'll probably do power rankings on Saturday nights. That's what me and Kent did last year, and it was a lot of fun. But, yeah, we'll probably, my thing is, I watch all the games anyway. If I'm gonna be awake until 3 a.m., I think I can spare being awake 30, 45 minutes more to do that. So the only thing is, if you're not listening on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast, you probably won't get those right away. You'll probably get them a little bit later. I'll probably put this out tomorrow morning. I don't think I'll put this out tonight, because I'll probably go right to bed after this. But yeah. The Penn State guy says, you never as good as you think you are first game, and you're never as bad as you think you are after the first game. That sounds like a proverb or something, the Penn State guy. I like that. That's a good one there. So, Max says, all night, Big Ten huddles. Oh yeah, we'll be here for it. Don't worry. I'll sleep in the off season. I slept a lot this summer. I'll sleep in the off season. All right. Let's do some Big Ten talk. Fisherman says, have a good night. Yep, I think that is my cue to head on out. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Love doing these late night ones. Probably be me most of the time. Maybe have Zach on. Maybe have Jeff on a few times. If I got a buddy or somebody like that I know is awake, I might ask them to come on as well. So, but yeah. We'll do one more here from Tony. Tony, because I haven't brought up a comment from Tony yet. He says, I was impressed with Nebraska's offensive line, but not much else from that game. Raiola still looks awkward to me. Yes, please do hit the like button, as Seek is asking to do there. I appreciate you doing that. I think Raiola showed more poise in the pocket, and I think he showed more I think he showed a better ability outside of the pocket to do something with the ball and not just throw a pick right away. But there was definitely issues there still, right? Cincinnati dropped a couple interceptions. He had the fumble. There's definitely still issues there. Dylan Raiola is not all figured out. But guess what? Nobody's all figured out in week 1. My test for Dylan Raiola is not going to be the Cincinnati game. My test for Dylan Raiola is going to be the Michigan game, because that's when they face, a real good opponent after they already get worked in a little bit. And I'll probably say the same thing about Ohio State and Texas. Whoever loses that game, Ohio State, Texas, will probably be in the top 3 or top 4 for me, or top 5 maybe. It depends on who else wins and loses and stuff. But we'll probably still be up there for me because guess what? It's week 1. As the Penn State guy said earlier, you're never as good as you think you were, but you're never as bad as you thought you saw on week 1. It's a crazy time. Don't overreact to it too much. We'll see what Nebraska looks like against Michigan. That'll be one of the biggest things. So just like the Penn State guy says, Bo Prabula looked amazing, albeit versus a crap team. Just like how Bo Prabula rushed out of the pocket to get to the end zone, I'm going to rush out of this live stream, and I'll see you guys on Saturday night, Sunday morning to do some power ranking stuff and things like that. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you later.